Welcome to the Wisdom Window on Strong Island Radio. The Wisdom Window is your portal to timeless knowledge and understanding. Join us each episode as Maddi Cheers and Marianne Franzese examine ancient and current wisdom traditions and apply these teachings to today's unique challenges. So let's get started and welcome your hosts, Maddi and Marianne.
Hello, and welcome to the Wisdom Window. I'm Maddi Cheers, and I'm here with my co-host, Marianne Franzese. Hi, Mare.
Hi, Maddi.
And today we have a very special guest, Joanne Angelberry Cohen. Joanne is with us, and she's going to help us learn more about the wisdom of the oracle. So for many, many, many thousands of years, people have been doing all different kinds of oracle readings, but today we're going to talk about the use of cards, which really started a long time ago with tarot cards. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. Joanne has her own set of cards. And Joanne, I really wanted to ask you about how these card readings affect you, affect your clients, all of the things that you know and the wisdom you've gleaned from working with cards for many years now.
Yes. Well, to start off with, I just want to make a correction on my name, which is
sorry.
Angel Barry Cologne.
Cologne. I apologize.
It's all good. It's all good. Hey, whatever. But yes, so to answer your question in reference to how card readings influence my life and influence others, you know, when someone decides to go for a card reading, I don't think it's one of those decisions where they just wake up and say, oh, I'm just going to go for a card reading today. There's something that weighs on their mind or their heart that they are searching for some sort of guidance and enlightenment. And when they sit to get a card reading, or they pull their own card for that matter, because nowadays you can actually purchase tarot cards and even my cards on Amazon and utilize them so you can gain the knowledge on your own. And the benefit of actually having your own deck of cards actually helps you to become more enlightened, where you tap into your intuition as opposed to someone else reading the card for you. So there is a huge benefit of someone owning an actual deck of cards as opposed to going for a reading. However, going for a reading helps one to receive insight on, when you read for yourself, you may not be so willing to look at the flip side of things, and you're really looking just to hear all the quote unquote positive things. So one would go to get a reading with the hopes of the reader providing some major insight on whether it be, when are they going to meet their soulmate? When are they going to get that perfect career that's going to earn them the $1 million job? Or even maybe questions on health. And recently I've learned that there's a lot of tarot card readers out there that actually do not do readings regarding health, which I found to be quite interesting. Not sure to why they don't answer that question, but I've bumped into a handful recently that when they sent out their questionnaire in regards to what the specific topic would be, they specified they do not tap on health. So I found that interesting. Don't know why, but they don't. But anyway, in regards to whether I go for a reading or someone else goes for a reading, it's really about they've had this calling to want to find out some insight on a deeper level. And the cards are going to do that. It's going to open up a gateway. It's going to open up another avenue. And then it's also going to open up their energy to be open to receiving additional insight that comes from beyond the textbook, or beyond the let's have a conversation with the girlfriends and see what they have to say. Does that make sense?
Definitely. I mean, I think certainly in spiritual communities and even philosophical communities, in scientific research, there's a lot of talk now about tapping into a different kind of knowing.
Yes.
that we don't just know things from reading books or from looking at scientific experiments, that through the development of quantum physics, that we're starting to realize that there are other ways that we know things. And that's why I love that you mentioned intuition. I know personally from working with you and other intuitives and other people who use intuition in healing, that this can give you insights you never even knew, and they I mean, for me, 100% of the time have turned out to be right and have turned out to help me with my own healing journey, or even, like you said, with my own questioning of events in my life.
And
Exactly.
also, I think it does like tap into a certain remembrance or understanding that nothing is ever random, right?
Right.
That was the whole idea when you talk about physics of chaos theory, that there's a sense that, there may be this chaotic choosing, but it's not. There is a pattern that's emerging for that particular moment. And in my connection with cards, I have come to the place of there are no bad cards. I remember being a younger person and getting a card and being like, no, I don't want that card.
Right.
But now
Exactly.
there are no bad cards. It is just a reflection and a trusting that there is information that might be helpful at this particular moment. But Joanne, I know you don't use tarot cards, and could you help our listeners to understand a little bit of the difference maybe between the tarot and the cards that you use?
Sure, I'll do my best. In regards to with tarot cards, I know that there's lots of symbols, there's colors, there's so much going on a tarot card, and certain ways of how the tarot card is actually displayed when one is actually getting a reading. Now, in regards to my cards are going to give in-depth information based on what we call the chakra system. Now, as Maddi was saying before, in regards to healing, one of the reasons why I was called to create my deck of cards is for the sole purpose of healing. And the chakra system is, from my point of view, the gateway to healing. So when someone gets a card reading from me, whether it's a 3-card reading or a 12-card reading, they may very well tap into anywhere from 1 chakra to as much as 12 chakras in a card reading. Well, not 12 chakras, because theoretically I only work with 7. But they can get up to as much as 5 to 6 cards focusing on just one particular chakra. Now, if for whatever the reasons are, a client receives in their spread of 12 cards, let's say there's 5 cards that's associated with their heart chakra. Right off the bat, that gives me the indication that there's something going on with their heart, and that they either need to heal something, forgive something, or get in that space of clearing the energy so they can be more open to more of the joy that comes in. And just from looking at the card spread, I can get that information.
And you designed these cards yourself, Joanne?
Yes,
This
I
is
sure
your
did.
own personal deck. And is it called the Chakra Healing Deck? What is it called?
It's a really long name.
Okay.
The name of it is Chakra Balance Numerology Cosmic Energy Forecast Deck. And the actual name of it gives exactly what it is. It focuses on the chakras. It focuses on numerology, and every card on the back of the card has an actual full moon photograph that is actually taken from a photographer, and it also has an affirmation. So there's a number, an affirmation, and a color on the card. And with those 3 principles, it gives me insight to the individual I'm reading for. And now also taking into consideration my intuition that plays a huge role when I sit to do a reading. Whereas here I get to see a variety of different colors that show up. So right off the back, my eye is looking to see how many times, let's say, a green card shows up, or how many times a red card shows up. If there's more than one time that particular color shows up, it gives me insight. If there's a specific number that shows up more than once, it gives me insight. And all this insight really leads to helping the client recognize that there's something that needs healing, and then are they willing to do the work? Now, for me, based on the difference between a tarot card reader and myself, my sole purpose of when I work with someone on a reading, my sole purpose is to eventually get them to the point where they're willing to open themselves up to want to do the healing work, not just coming in for the reading. I've had a conversation with someone who does tarot card readings, and I've always asked her, what does she feel about, how does she feel about people who would come in for readings? She'd give them all this information, and then let's say 6 months later, that same person would come back, sit and get a reading with her. Similar cards show up because the person who did who received the reading 6 months ago didn't do anything with the information that was given to them. Now, to me, my point of view is, if you're going to sit and get a reading, you're receiving insight that's either going to be a seed that the reader is planting for you, and then you get to decide if you want to water that seed so it can grow, which means you're going to take action. Right. And then there's going to be something that's going to shift over the time you decide to get another reading, or you're just going to get the information and doing absolutely nothing with it. Now, my cards, it's to the point where I'm going to give you all this information, and by the time we get to the ending of the reading, I'm going to then ask you, are you ready to pursue into tapping into healing all the different things we talked about today?
Excellent.
And then go ahead.
No, I was just, that's great. That's really excellent, because you're right. So many people go for card readings either just for fun or because they want a question answered, and then they don't look at what's my part in making this happen. You know, what are these actions? And I know from working with you that very much you give people, whether you're working with cards or crystals, and we'll talk about crystals next week, there are things that you're saying, okay, well, so between now and the next time I see you, this is what you need to work on. This is how you're going to work with your cards. This is how you're going to work with your crystals. And of course, nothing happens unless the person responds and takes responsibility. So I just want to go back. I want to backtrack a little bit, because in our circles, of course, lots of people know what chakras are. They either know it from studying the history of Hinduism or the philosophy of Hinduism or yoga or something else. But if we do have a listener out there who has no idea what we're talking about when we're talking about chakras, can you just go through that really? I know it's a big topic, actually, but as succinctly as possible.
Well, yeah, I do try to keep it very simple. So for the average person who's very new to this, I like to look at it as, to start off with, the chakra system literally runs up your spine, starting from the tailbone all the way up to the top of your head. There's 7 primary chakras that the average healer works with. There's a total of 114 overall the entire body. And then there's so many more way above us and way around us, but we won't even get to that. Right. And when we think about our chakra system is similar to a wheel, where if we think about like little, like spiraling light, so to speak, as long as each system is turning, theoretically speaking, everything externally is actually in alignment, meaning things are flowing. Now, if for whatever the reasons are, there's something in your life that is troubling you, causing a challenge, whatever it may be, relationship issues, we'll talk about that, because that seems to be something that we all can relate to. And if there's a relationship issue, there's a good possibility that the heart chakra is out of alignment, because either there's a lack of love, they feel like they need to forgive, or they need somebody they need to receive forgiveness from somebody else. So, and that's a window or mirror effect of what's going on within us. So if there's something not aligned externally, it's time to check in internally to see what energies are out of alignment. Now, also, when we think about our chakra system that runs along the line of the spine, each chakra is associated with a specific body part and also organ, and in the motion as well. So again, this gives us an idea that If something is not feeling good, like if you're, and I'll use the back because many of us can associate with lower back discomfort. If we are feeling lower back discomfort, it's a good possibility the root chakra, which is the base chakra, is not aligned. It could be just stuck, because one's not willing to shift something or change something, do something different, or it could be completely blocked because one might be experiencing what I like to call past life experiences that they're in this lifetime to shift, and they don't feel supported or protected. So that particular root chakra is going to get stuck, going to get blocked, and that's going to create a lot of discomfort in the lower back and also running down the legs, the hips, the knees, the ankles. All of that are association to, oh, something's going on with my root chakra. Now, of course, the average person would when getting a reading and getting this insight, the average thing now is, well, what can I do so I can fix that or heal that? And that's where, again, after they get the reading, they get the guidance on how to heal the situation. So going back to the chakra system, to what it is, it's basically a wheel. 7 wheels turning and helping us to stay in flow of life. And when everything on the external is flowing, that means everything on the internal is flowing. And also making a note that every single day, every hour of the day, it's important to check in on your chakras, because you can go into the supermarket and your chakras can get thrown off track because of all the different energies we come in contact with. Then you come out of the supermarket feeling a little disoriented because you've picked up all this energy. So it's really important to check in on the chakras. And it's a very simple process of just grounding, getting more connected with the body by connecting with your chakras. So simple, easy, as long as you're feeling everything externally is in alignment, then your chakra system is in alignment. But it's very important to check in to confirm that. I hope that answered the question.
Yeah, I think it really does. And I think it's also important for people to remember that these teachings, this wisdom, this form of healing is thousands of years old and has been practiced all over India, China, Japan, all the Asian countries. Billions of people now practice working with the chakras and looking at them in different ways, not just cards, but that this is not some foo-foo la-la, type of new agey information that people just sort of came up with during the hippie days. We just got in touch with it here in the West, even though it's been around for thousands of years. So to simply dismiss it would be I believe, very short-sighted and very closed-minded to not open up to these teachings in some way.
I agree.
And I was also thinking back to the approach to the oracle, right? From way back, there was such a reverence because there is, I think, an understanding that the oracle offers this bridge from the divine to the earth, and the messages are important. And there's I think a bit of a mainstreaming of these kinds of wisdom teachings and ways of expressing that can make it feel like anybody can do it, or any information that comes through is real or not real. So there's a casualness to it. And I definitely hear you saying, Joanne, by adding this idea of your intention in using your cards is one of healing. Healing is really activating the healer within whoever you're doing the reading for. So it is a sacred contract in a way. That's how I'm hearing it, between you and the person who comes to you.
Yeah, and that's totally correct. It's definitely a contract, a sacred contract. And when we really think about healing, I always advise people, when people sit back and say, well, what's the best way I can tap into my intuition? The best advice I say is pick up a deck of tarot cards or pick up my cards and start using them. Because by using the cards, you're literally allowing yourself to look at the card and then connect with what first comes to mind without actually thinking about it. So it's not a thinking process as much as it is a let me pause a minute, see what the card feels to me like, and then receive the message. And whatever the message is, that's the first answer. And then you can time into your intuition, because again, the message you're receiving is your intuition because you're trusting it. And that allows for the individual to start to heal, because as they tap into their own intuition, it's opening up their own energy to source and allowing themselves to recognize that there's something more than just what appears in our eyesight.
You know what? There is this a card from a regular deck of playing cards that has been face down on my desk in my room for the last couple of days. I keep passing it. I don't turn it over. I'm just like, whatever. I'm in and out of my room. This morning, the card had fallen on the floor, and I was thinking about, in the shower, our talk today about cards and the oracle, and it was face up, and it was the 9 of clubs. So I see this card, and I'm like, oh, I love 9 of clubs because 9 is divisible by 3. Anyone who knows me, 333 is my number. It's my license plate.
Yeah.
And the clubs was like the clover. I'm like, lucky 3 is with me today. And so that card in that moment became a message of the day that went through my symbology system that I carry. And I took it. It's in my heart today, the vision of that card. And it is so accessible to us if we align ourselves with the messages. I'm wondering if it's possible, and maybe it's not. Like, would you be able to pull a card for Maddi and I, or for the show, or for us separately, and see what comes up?
Sure, definitely. But before I do that, what I like to do, is, if you're open to it, is give you a little wisdom on what the 9 of clubs means
Please, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. When we think about the 9 and the clubs, now to start off with, as again, my deck of cards talk about numbers as well. I love numerology. Numbers provide so much insight. So the card that you've been passing as often as you pass, and then it finally decided to flip itself over because you've chosen never to, is the message to let you know that all the hard work that you have done up until this point has actually paid off. And you are literally transforming and evolving from all that hard work that you've done.
That's incredible, because I have definitely been feeling like all the hard work I've done in my life has been erased, and I'm starting back over. So to hear that is like a sweet, sweet kiss on the cheek.
Yes. And that's what that card is saying. And you needed to hear that message today, as opposed to having to physically turn it over yourself to see what it was.
No, it revealed itself to me. True.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't meant for you to hear it any sooner than you heard it today, either last night or today, whenever the card actually turned over for you. So I love that fact. And also, when you think about the clubs, the club is black. So it's really about all the, and I don't really like to use the negativity, because there really is no such thing as negativity. There's a higher vibration and then a lower vibration.
Right.
But the black is also letting you know that your body, your mind, your spirit is literally clearing away any of the negative energies or low vibration energies that might be looking to come in. That energy is shielding it from you.
Wow.
So it's really powerful too.
That's
yes.
great.
That was very expansive and heartwarming. Thank you.
And timely.
So timely.
Perfect.
My pleasure. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do a reading for everyone, the viewers and both of you at the same time.
Oh, beautiful.
And what you can do now, our viewers as well, just hold a question in your heart that you would like to receive guidance from. Obviously, you're not going to share it with me because you're both going to have different questions and the viewers are going to have different questions. However, for the viewers, they can actually comment back and let all of us know whether the card resonated with them or not.
And they're
So I'm just
actually
shaking up-
listeners because
Yeah,
we're not
sorry,
viewing. That's
listeners.
okay. I just don't want anybody to get confused if you're like wandering around looking for the video. There is no video. You're just
Yes.
listening.
Yeah, it's what happens when I'm so used to being, around viewers.
Right.
So interesting enough, the card that shows up now, my deck of cards can show up one of two ways. First way is the usual way, which is upright. The second way is in reverse. And when the card shows in reverse, there's a handful of reasons to why the card shows in reverse. First one is the obvious one where pay attention to what it is I'm about to say because you need to hear this message. Second one is there's something that I'm going to say that you may have a little resistance to. You may not be open to receiving this message right now, but in time you will. And the third message is it's something you need to know. So interesting, the card that we have showing here is freedom. Now, you ladies can see me, so I'll show you the cards. But our listeners cannot. So freedom. So the question that really comes upon here is, how many of us are really resisting freedom? We want freedom. But how many of us are resisting it? How many of us are really afraid of freedom? And more importantly, what are we afraid of losing so we can have our freedom? Because in order to have freedom, we have to be willing to let go of something to have freedom. And letting go, the thing that we might need to let go of is the control. Controlling everything so we can have the freedom. Now, the chakra, as we spoke about chakras before, this is the root chakra. So this is really about getting grounded and allowing ourselves to feel supported enough so we can have freedom. And I think that the collective talk right now is that we don't feel like we have support. So because we don't feel like we have support, we don't feel freedom. So we have to step into, we are supported. And because we are supported, we'll have freedom. And the numbers here are 1 and 4. So 1, a new way of looking at things. And when I say looking at things, it's not a matter of looking at the obvious, what's in front of us. It's really using the third eye, which is seeing things differently. And when we can start to see things differently, then we start to see freedom. Now, the 4 energy is all about the foundation, what we want to build, the new foundation that once we do have freedom, what are we doing with this freedom? How are we going to use this freedom for our highest good? And when we add the number together, it's 5. And 5 is all about, in order to get freedom, we have to be willing to change something. And the first thing we have to change is how we see things. Until we can see things differently, we're never going to see freedom. We're never going to have freedom. We have to change our perspective, change our vision, clean off the lens so we can start to actually see freedom. And that's that 5 energy of change. So this is for every one of us. So for our listeners, I would love to know if this card resonates with you. And if it does, how does it? And if it doesn't, come back to this message in about 4 weeks from now. My suggestion would be ground yourself, which means go out into nature, go hug a tree, go put your feet in the grass, go sit in the grass, and then 4 weeks later, revisit this question and see if it resonates with you at that point.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
That really is awesome. That's the card that came up. It is for me. And I think it is, like you said, for the collective community, it is a really important card, and interesting that it would come up during the podcast. I really enjoy that. I also like, Joanne, that you point out that we're going to revisit it in 4 weeks. You know, I remember reading a piece by Yogananda where he talked about, who's the very famous gentleman that brought the yoga teachings here in the 1920s, brought them to America. And he talks about how if you're going to ask the creator for something, don't expect an answer right away. Just put it out there, let it go, and then pay attention see how it
Exactly.
comes back to you. And I think that's a really, really important teaching that you just shared with us. Really important wisdom, because especially in this day and age of, I want an instant response. Oh my gosh, what do you mean? I gotta wait for the app to show. I gotta wait 2 seconds for it to like get me to where I want to go. I mean, sorry, I gotta get rid of this app. We gotta go to the other app because that app gets me there in 1 second. So that's a really, really important message. Thank you so much for that, for the
was
reading
wonderful.
and the message. Just wonderful.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So-
So now, which one of you want to go first for your reading?
You know what?
Well-
I don't think we have time this week.
No,
right?
no, we're
Okay.
gonna we'll save that for next week when we come back with crystals also, because we've only got a few minutes left. So please give everybody your contact information, and we'll also be posting that on the Women's Oneness Project page, and Marianne will post it, and I'll
Yes.
post it separately. But just let us know what's going on with you and how we get a hold of you.
Excellent. So the best way to reach me would be through my email, which is healingwithin76@gmail.com. And for those of you who are interested in getting my cards, they are available on Amazon. So you can go ahead and purchase them. And in addition to that, I do offer courses on how to use the cards. So that's something you can email to find out information about how to get involved with the course as well. But like I said, best way to reach me, healingwithin76@gmail.com. Keep it simple. This way it's not sending you to all different places to find me. And yeah, that's how you can get to me.
That's
Great. And
wonderful.
your show airs when? Tell everybody about your show and when they can
Yes.
watch.
My
and-
the TV show Joanne's Healing Within airs every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and my radio show Joanne's Cosmic Energy airs the first Wednesday every month at 3 p.m. Eastern Time as well.
Great, but they can find you where? They can find the they don't have to watch it at that time. It's always here on Strong Island Radio, right? And it's are you on YouTube?
Yes, it's YouTube and also Roku.
Great, perfect. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. We are finished for this week. Good news is, though, we'll be back next week. So thank you, Bobby Lucera, our producer, and everybody here at Strong Island Radio. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in once again. And we'll see you next week. Have a good one.